Hailing from the brutal rough-and-tumble world of Krypton, Tony Kryptonite Lopez has been fighting professionally both inside and outside the cage since 2005. He's amassed an impressive record of 64-32 with 28 knockouts.
That's what I'm doing here, slug it out, take some hits, give some hits, and give you guys a good show.
He has 97 MMA fights and 8 or 9 kickboxing, bare knuckle, and boxing fights just for good measure. With over 100 professional fights, he is considered truly one of the sport's Iron Men. And tomorrow, he goes for a kickboxing world title in Rage in the Cage against Brian the Lion McVeigh. On this episode of Brawl Call, it's Tony Kryptonite Lopez.
You're listening to Emmy Award-winning host Jordan J. Adams.
Look at that shirt, sporting that shirt. You're going to get some heat on that, aren't you?
It's all good.
Hey, man, we're coming out of the video of you KTFOing people, and you have plenty of those, if I'm not mistaken, 28 of them, which is a pretty respectable number. But the number that really jumps out, Tony, is that 97 MMA fights. That puts you in very, very rarefied air. I mean, these kind of numbers are, there's only a handful of guys who ever make it to that 3-digit number. You throw in your kickboxing, your bare knuckle, your boxing, you're way over that 3-digit number. How the heck did you stay in this game for that long?
You know what? It's just about me enjoying what I do. I love going out there and fighting in the ring or in the cage like that. Not on the streets, but I love the sport. And it just to me, it's trying to prove to myself where my skills are at, and can I still do what I used to do back in the day.
Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, you started in 2005, and I did some crunching. So that's 15 years. Well over 100 fights. So even if you throw in your bare knuckle, which is awesome to watch, you're at like a 105, divide that by 15 years. You're averaging 7 fights a year for 15 years. I mean, that's like, Lou Gehrig, Iron Man proportions where, most guys don't get over 30 fights in their entire career. Their bodies just give out. Do you have any kind of special, and I'm going to be so pissed off if you don't, do you have any special nutritional protocols or specific ways you get your body, you get this much out of your body?
Well, for nutritional purposes, my biggest thing is I always eat at home. Wife's cooking. It's all home cooking. It's great. It beats out going out fast food. Going out to Jack in the Box and Carl's Jr. kind of stuff like that. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I'll do that maybe once every 6-8 months. And that's only because I'm starving and, hey, man, I need something, man. Let's just go there right now. But other than that, it's always at home cooking. Or if I do go out, the closest to home cooking for me is like an Alberto's, because Mexican food, and I know how their food is more real than fast food, because I see them cook up the meat, everything's fresh and stuff, so it's good. But yeah, and then, that's for the nutritional purpose. The training purpose is that I do a lot of stuff by myself at home, which is work on the technique, my cardio, my strength, all that, and maybe once or twice a month, I'll go out and cross train where I work on my jiu-jitsu skills or my stand-up skills. And that part there, that's where I avoid all my injuries, where most fighters, they get injured in training camp. Because they're going hard, they're trying to, get better. But when you do that and you get hurt in the training camp, it's like, man, now you got to pull out of the fight and stuff like that. And there's never been one fight I pulled out of. It's like, hey, you call me up, whether it's 2-day notice or 3-week notice, I'm there. And that's usually how I get a lot of my fights, is like the fight that's coming up for me. my opponent's opponent, he just stopped answering the matchmaker. And so they were like, hey, man, you step in? I'm like, of course, I'm here. I'll take the fight. But yeah, that's my secret is just, stay healthy and don't hurt myself when I'm training for the fight, and eat well, eat at home.
Have you been able to avoid the serious injury plague that affects so many MMA fighters?
Which one's that?
Well, just injuries in general. It's like any other, full contact sport. You can pick up injuries,
Yeah.
anything that's kind of chronic that bothers you, whether it's a hammy or a shoulder injury.
Here's another example of the kind of fighter I am. I had a fight where some promoter told me these never did anything for a heavyweight. I could knock no one out. So I got a little upset. And, I usually use my legs because I love kicking. So this day I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to show you that these hands work. So I went in there and, I just used my hands. And, I knocked the guy down in the first round and was just beating on him. And when I was beating on him, I'm staring at the promoter like, hey, what did you say about my hand? And as I'm doing this, I start flinging my hands. And when I fling my hands, I wasn't even paying attention. And all of a sudden, this one, boom! I don't know if I hit him with the top of my wrist here. I hit him around the chin or something, and it broke. I broke my hand. And he made it to the second round. I finished him in the second round with my hand still, and with this one broke. And a week later, I had another fight up in Alaska. And of course, like I said, I don't pull out of fights. There's no reason why I can't make it to a fight. I always tell everybody, hey, you got two of everything. If something's broke, use the other one. So I went up to Alaska with a brace on my hand. The promoter over there is like, hey, is there something wrong with your wrist, your hand? And I'm like, no, I have it on here just because, And that was it. Went through the fight, won the fight. And right after that, I went and got this fixed. So, there's injuries that happen to me where I don't tell nobody because nobody needs to know. That's my business. Because, if I would have said, I broke my hand, I would have never fought. I would have been out for, however long it takes for this to heal. And sure enough, I think it took, 3 weeks to get the cast off. And for 2 weeks, I worked my hand to be able to close it good and stuff. And then I got right back into it, which most fighters it'll probably be about 3 months before they get back in the ring, because they want to make sure it's properly healed. They can use it. They get back to their movement and all that stuff. And I do everything, even while this was in a cast, I still train. I work my technique so that I wouldn't fall behind. But like I said, I get hurt.
Promoter's fighter, man.
Oh yeah, I get hurt. I just keep going. It's like, okay, you know what? Put that one in the back. And that's why I switch stance too when I fight. If something's hurt, man, I'll switch this way. I'll put that in the back. Or no, this one hurt, I'll switch it this way, So that way my hurt stuff is in the back, my strong stuff's up front, and I don't worry about it.
Is it true that you don't tape your hands?
Yeah, why? My theory to me for the MMA has always been, okay, this is as close as I'm going to get to a street fight. So if I actually happen to have it, I've never had a street fight. I've tried, but for some reason, no one wants to fight me. But, if it ever does happen, I don't want to tell somebody, oh, hey, no, you know what? You got to give me at least 10 minutes so I can wrap my hands, go warm up, and then, how much you weigh? We the same weight class? Because I got to make sure, it's a fair fight. I don't look at it like that. I look at it, hey, it's a fight. If I'm going to fight, I'm going to fight right then and there. I ain't going to wrap my hands because I ain't going to have time to. So it's like, let's just go. Let's do it. Same thing for like in the back for warm-ups. When I warm up, I don't sit there and hit the pads and all this stuff. And I see every fighter doing. My thing is I'll warm up in the ring. I'll stretch out in the back a little bit, loosen up. I stay warm. I don't always try and keep myself hot because the warmer I am, when I get out there, hey, the looser I am. So, yeah, I just, like I said, most people, when they see me in the back, they'll see me laying there, maybe sleeping, or just talking, whatever, relaxing. Usually I like to zone out, just be by myself, have my thoughts going on in my head and, what am I going to do? How am I going to finish this guy? How's this fight going to go? But, yeah, I'm not your regular type of fighter at all.
Now, you've mentioned that you took the fight on short notice, which actually supports what you just said. You're not the regular type of fighter. So many fighters now really are measuring everything they do and very, very, very careful about who they fight, especially on short notice. You've just been known for your entire career to take fights on short notice. I'm sure the promoters really, really appreciate it. And even more importantly, I'm sure the fighter who you're stepping in to fight really appreciates it. Those are when you see the good blood fights, because, you know, I train for 3 months for a fight. My guy drops at the last minute. Someone else takes a fight and I don't lose the fight. I'm like, dude, here's half my freaking purse because you saved this fight for me. So that's a good blood fight. Are you still fighting Brian the Lion McVeigh in this matchup tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Have you had a chance to talk with him at all? Is there good blood, bad blood? You know, and what's your overall thoughts on him as a fighter?
You know what? I mean, my fights on fighters nowadays is very low. You know, they're at the bottom of the barrel because they're not like they used to be. You know, when I first started, there were fighters out there. There were guys who, you know, went out there to bang. And like you just mentioned, you know, a lot of guys now, they're thinking about, well, hey, is this a smart fight to have? Is this going to push my career up? Am I going to go the right way, you know, win or lose on this fight, or what's it going to do for me? You know, I look at it, look, give me a fight because I need to get paid. I need to feed my family, pay some bills. You know, that's what I'm doing. So I don't, like I said, all the fighters now is just like, it's frustrating because of that. Because like I said, they got to be like, oh, do I want to fight this guy? I mean, the guy I'm fighting right now, he didn't. I mean, a lot of guys too. The promoter, when they say, hey, you know what, you would take a fight? I say yes. They say, well, let me ask the guy, see if he'll accept you as his opponent. And believe it or not, a good 7 times out of 10, I don't get the fight because that guy doesn't want to fight me. And so, I mean, I give credit when it's the last minute fight and the guy does fight, you know, say, okay, I'll fight him. So, you know, I mean, he thinks he's got what it takes, which is great. You know, that's a good mentality. But unfortunately, when I get in there, I'm going to show him he doesn't have what it takes.
I wanted to get in touch with him before I chatted with you to get his thoughts on you before we chatted, but I couldn't track him down. My best guess, because this is usually what happens when a fighter sees an opportunity to fight a guy with a name, you know, a guy who's been around, who's fought top level opponents, fought in high profile shows. You know, you've been on Elite XC, M1, Bellator, you're a high profile fighter. Everybody knows you. So he's looking at it. My best guess is, hey, if I can knock Tony off, I just made a name for myself. Is that something you find yourself facing, especially when you get in there with the young Turks? Do you see that like getting extra excited, more incentive to try to knock you out?
Well, yeah, I do see that because, I mean, that's the whole goal right here. It's like, hey, look, you fight me, you win. You got your ticket for your bus pass to go to the bigger shows. And that's usually how it works. I mean, there was a time where everybody I fought, win or lose, made it into the UFC. You know, and I was like, well, what's going on? Win or lose, you still go, but yet I'm stuck here. So,
I was going to
I mean, I know.
Yeah.
I know there.
Like that.
But yeah, so I mean,
the math doesn't make sense to me on that one, Tony. You know, like
you know what?
You've been around the people you've taken out of the picture. I don't get it, bro.
You know what? It's no one. I mean, let's put it this way. I'm gonna go straight to Dana White. Will not give me a straight answer. You know, and I mean, I don't. And now at this point in my career, I don't really care. You know, because back in the day when, you know, I believe I had 16 straight fights, you know, and I lost 2 fights on purpose to get out of contract out of King of the Cage because I was like, to me, I wasn't making enough money. It's like, you know what, let me try and get another big show. I get out this contract, you know, I'll go hit up the UFC. And I did. And they gave me the runaround. They didn't want it. They didn't want me. They gave me all these excuses. The biggest one was like, oh, right now, you know, our roster's full. We're not taking no more fighters. And then within 2 weeks, they signed, I think, 4 or 5 new fighters. And I was like,
actually, your weight division, yeah, that's
in my weight division. And I was like, wait a minute, he just said they had no room. So then I blasted Joe Silva because that's who I was talking to at the time. I blasted him, shot out the emails, let everybody know, look, this is what he said, this is what he did. He's a liar. I don't know what his problem is against me. And then from there, I went and talked to Dana face to face. I asked him, hey, you know what's it going to take for me to get in here? And he tells me, oh, you know what? You're talking to the wrong person. Joe Silva's my boss. And I'm thinking, oh, do you think I'm some kind of moron? I don't know how the chain of command works here, or who's where. Right. And so right when he said that to me, I said, okay, you know what? You don't want to talk to me. You don't want to tell me nothing. So, all right, bye. And that was it, you know? So, I mean, I don't have any like ill will or nothing like that, but I know that for some reason I did something to someone down the way and he don't like me. So, I mean, it's gone as far as to people I train with that are in the UFC came back to me and said, hey man, I can't train with you. And I'm like, why not? I was told if I continue to train with you that I won't be where I won't be in the UFC no more. They're gonna boot me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's what they told me. And I can't afford not to, so we got to stop training for a while. And I was like, the fuck? So I just, like I said, I don't know what it is. Let's put it this way here. I got a manager and my old coach, Colin Ayama, and I got a manager. And I said, okay, you guys, Colin Ayama has a lot of people in Bellator, a lot of fighters in Bellator, UFC, I mean, all in the top places, right? This manager manages these guys in the UFC, Bellator, anywhere big, he's got over, 200 fighters. So I was like, okay, he's well-connected. They're well-connected. Let me see what they can do. They went and they pushed for the Contender Series when the heavyweight division was going on, I think about 2 years ago. They pitched me to them. They told them the story. Everything sounded good to everyone. Everybody on the cast was like, oh, hey, you know what? He'd be perfect for the storyline, everything. Let's bring him in. Next thing you know, one person said no. They didn't say who. They just said, hey, we got declined on Tony coming into the Contender. And I mean, of course, there's only one person, and that's Dana White. Who else is going to have that power?
That's the only
so
one who has
he
that
said no,
power.
and that was it. Right then and there, I said, okay, you know what? I stopped training with Colin because I didn't want to put him through unneeded stress of him not being able to get me anywhere. And I dropped the manager because he wasn't going to be able to get me nowhere either, because people, when he threw my name out, they stopped answering him. If he's sending a text or email, they'd be talking. All of a sudden, my name comes up, boop, he goes silent. He's like, I don't know why, but every time your name comes up, boom. So, I mean, this wasn't just in the UFC. It was different organizations, too. So, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know who I pissed off, but they blacklisted me somewhere and say, hey, you know what? We can't use them. Don't use them, blah, 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 whatever. So, and that's it. But like I said, I fight everywhere. I fight overseas a lot, because over there they don't care about the UFC or anything that they say or Bellator or anything like that. So, and then the small shows, of course, they want me because I'm a good name. I'm a fighter when I come. No matter what, I always come to fight. So they're going to get a show out of me, win or lose.
We've all gone through exactly what you're talking about. We all have our things we're shooting for, and they get shot down for all of us. And it's, there is no smooth ride, man. When you're in a body and you're on this planet and you're trying to freaking survive, there's no smooth ride. And, what you did, I heard this speech by Stallone. I think he was doing it as Rocky, and he was talking about it. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. That's not what it's about. It's totally about when you get back up, getting back up, and living your dream, doing what you want to do no matter what. And so you look back at you wanted to be a fighter. Like, your biggest dream was, I want to be a pro fighter. And no one has stopped you from doing it. You fought all kinds of big shows. I'm telling you, 99.99999% of the population would kill to fight in Bellator, or kill to fight in Elite XC or M1 International. Seeing the world. 99.9% of people never even get out of the country. You've traveled all over the world doing exactly what you love to do, what your passion is, and entertained. Can you imagine, at well over 100 fights, how many millions of people you've entertained? In the millions when you look at social media and video. So, that's my shout out to you, because I know exactly. I've had the same exact kind of hits in television, like big things I lost that I didn't get, like painful pain. I lived in LA, and I was second for this huge movie and second for this huge game show. I came in a second to so many things, and they never got them. It's like, then you're watching the other dude, I'll be with my girlfriend, whatever, on the couch watching TV, and then the dude comes on in my fucking movie, right? It's my movie.
Yeah.
And I can't forget it because it's such a visual medium. So it's always in my face, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, my shout out to you is you're still banging like that. You win because you're still banging. So, you know, props and love to you, brother.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I mean, there was a time where for 2 years, my wife pretty much carried me in the sense of made me work out, made me train, made me do all this stuff because the first time when the UFC shot me down, I was like, well, fuck, I'm done. You know, that's the whole goal was get to the top. They don't want you to the top. What am I doing? You know, so I was fighting and I was making good money at this time because I was at the top of my game. But the next 2 years, I was at the bottom of my game where I won 2 fights in 2 years and lost 8 fights in those 2 years. So it's like I was just going through the motions, bam, 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 just to get paid. And where it's like if my wife hadn't been telling me, hey, go train, do this, she put me through my training camp, my stricts, all this kind of stuff, just to make sure I wouldn't end up, like a vegetable and stuff. And after those 2 years, she's like, she was fed up. She's like, hey, man, I can't do this no more because she does. Like I said, she does everything for me. She trains me. She's my nutritionist. She's my manager, my coach, you know, everything. That's what she was. And she's like, hey, I can't do it anymore. You know, I'm tired of having to tell you to do what you wanted to do your whole life. And I told her, you know what, hey, give me one more chance. You know, I'll fix this and you won't have to worry about that no more. And then from there, you know, I start on my own training, do what I had to do. And I mean, she still managed me and, you know, got me my fights because she said I was kind of stupid to do that on my own. So I said, all right.
Sounds like my
life. But so then from there, you know, like I said, I started going up and I'd go through cycles where I'd win 7 straight, I'd lose 1, and then I'd start going down and I'd get like, man, how did I lose? Why did I lose? And I'd get down on myself. And I'd go back up, win another 5 in a row, lose 1, 2, come back, win another 9, and stuff like that. So it was like a little roller coaster. And that's where I've been. That's what I've been doing for a while. And it's like, I'm doing good. I'm like, hey, you know what? I should be able to go over here. Another one was I started doing everything good. I've won 9 straight fights. And I got a contract for ACB. And I was like, oh, sweet. Okay, finally, now we're going to start making some decent money. And, I have fights back to back. And I had gotten a manager to give me the ACB. And that manager, you know, I told him, hey, I have this fight. It's scheduled 3 weeks before the one for ACB. Is it okay if I take it or do I need to pull out? You know, you tell me, do I fight or not? If you tell me no fight, I won't fight and I will fight ACB. Well, I don't know what was going on in this guy's head, but he said, yeah, go ahead and take the fight. I'm on. Okay, so it's okay with ACB, I take the fight. He said, yeah, I take the fight. The referee, I get like flash knockout. Referee jumps in and stops it. And right when he jumps in, I'm like, get the fuck off me. I'm still good. And he, oh shit. And he gets up and I was like, the fuck? I got mad. I went through everybody like, hey, you know what? You ain't going to suspend me, are you? Because I got a fight coming up. It's a big fight and I can't take no suspension. Oh, no, you're good. You're good. It was nothing. Well, I get suspended by a tribal commission in Arizona. And so then I went kind of MRI, AKG, all this stuff to clear myself. Doctor clears me. 100%, you're good. Nothing's wrong with you, you know? I mean, it was nothing. I tell the commissioner over there, they're like, no, that don't mean nothing. I'm like, so you're telling me you know more than a doctor, a professional who does all this for a living. You know more and you're not going to lift that suspension? No. You know, you got knocked out and that's it. I was like, ridiculous. So then from there, now ACB's pissed at me because I had to pull out of the fight. And now, you know, when I was trying to talk to them, same thing, they wouldn't answer me. Now they banned me. And it came out that the manager I had gotten, he told them that I told him I was taking the fight regardless of what they said. I didn't care. So he turned around on me, you know, and put the blame on me so he wouldn't look bad to them. And I was like, man, it wasn't even like that. So it's like, you know, it's just, I just have a string of bad luck for my part of it, I think. You know, it's like, hey, someone be truthful to me, tell me, hey, look, do this, you'll get here. All right, let's do it. But no one will. I say, hey, well, do this, and yeah, you can do this over here and over there, and you'll be all right. I'm okay, I'll do that. So I've learned, you know, managers can't help me do anything other than my wife. And just, hey, stick to myself. And if it happens one day, it happens. If it don't, you know, hey, I'm still doing what I like to do. and I am traveling the world, which is great because that's what I wanted fighting for, was to see the world. You know, I'm the only one in my family that's gone all over this world. And like you said, you know, they've never left, you know, the United States. I mean, they're going to Mexico because we have family there, but that's it. You know, it's like that's nothing to us going to Mexico and you know, California and stuff. It's like, hey, that's where you live. That's what you do. But they've never seen the world the way I've seen the world. The people I've met, I mean, it's great.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you know, being in for so long, since 2005, and having so many fights, what would you say would be the best thing about the sport for you? Like, what's your favorite thing, your altogether favorite thing about being in this sport?
You know what? Exactly what I just said right now about the travel. You know, you can't beat that. I mean, they pay for the flight, the hotel, usually the food. So, I mean, everything's covered. So you're just there. And a lot of times, too, if I'm going overseas or out of the country, I ask for a couple extra days, you know, before the fight, you know, so that way I can enjoy the place at least 1 or 2 days, go out, sightsee and stuff. And a lot of times when I get out, there's someone wherever I go that wants to practice their English, and they're like, hey, if you want, you know, I'll take you around. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And man, I get a guide. So, you know, you can't beat those kind of things. And what I'm loving too now is that I'm starting to bring my kids with me. You know, when I fight anywhere in the United States, I bring one of my kids so they can corner me. You know, I'm teaching them too. One of them right now, my daughter that's with me now, is she's training because she wants to fight, and so I'm trying to get her ready. And so, like I said, she comes to my fights, corners me, sees what I do. You know, like I said, just absorbs everything, and then we go home. You know, we train a little bit, practice, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, when I'm hoping by the end of next year, I can get her first fight.
Wow. How old is she?
She's 20 now. She just turned 20.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, man. I'm sure you won't have any problems. I mean, you know, so many promoters at this stage. I mean, you'll be able to get her a fight, no problem. And obviously with Reed helping you, you'll be able to find just the right promotion. By the way, yes, special shout out to Reed Cook, who I believe is in the room with you. He's the one who hooked us up, and he said, you know, hey, do you want to speak to Kryptonite? I'm like, hello, you can get him? He's like, yeah, I can get him. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to talk to him. You kidding me? So special shout out to Reed. We're doing a lot of work with him here at United Fight Alliance, and he's been an amazing team member. So nothing but love to Reed. So we talked about the best thing about MMA. My guess is you might have a couple bad things too. What would you say is the worst thing about the sport?
You know what? The worst thing, the commission. No matter what, the commission in every state is God Almighty. You know, they know what's best. They know the rules like nobody else. And it's like, if you try and fight them on it, hey, you want to fight? You got to listen to what I say, and that's it. It's like, what the hell? I mean, there's places I've gone where the guy, you know, the commissioner, he's my age, and he's like, oh, no, he can't do 5 rounds. He's too old. I'm the same age, and no, I can't do. No, I can't do it. He ain't doing it. No, it's 3 rounds. That's all he gets. And as I was a champion, defending the title, you do 5 rounds. He's like, no, 3 rounds or nothing. The fight's gone. And I was like, man, that's ridiculous. I mean, it wasn't going to take me 5 rounds to finish the guy, which it didn't. But it was still like, why you take those 2 rounds from me? You know, just because you can't do it? So, I mean, that's where the commission is just the worst thing in MMA.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, when you were talking about how much you love the travel, I said it was the same exact experience for me. The food's amazing. You always find an awesome person to take you around and show you the different countries. And it's, they appreciate you being there so much. And it's funny to watch. They have the same issues with their commissions in the different countries. So it's like, you would think it's just us, but no, like every country has the same complaints about their commissions. It's so funny. It's so funny. Well, you've probably fought for, I don't know how many, I should have added it up. But maybe 30 or 40 different promotions. What's been your favorite promotion to work for, and why?
I never really thought of any promotions like that. But I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, wow, what's it? You know what? There is one promotion where, I mean, it's cool. They made a show out of it. I'm trying to think of the name right now. I keep drawing a
You
blank.
remember what city it was?
It was over in Europe. Think.
What country was it?
It's
The same way.
It's
Once you get over 100
Siberia.
promotions, they blend.
It starts with SEB, I think. I don't know. You know what? I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But
there's one in Germany. I think there's an SEB in Germany. That's Amir Osmatic. If I could be wrong. Yeah, but anyway.
Yotoshi.
How was Elite XC?
I'm gonna try to figure it out, but
how was Elite XC?
I mean, it was just great because, like I said, they made a show out of it.
Yeah.
They gave me. I mean, like kind of like the UFC does now. Full gear and stuff like that. So I mean, I got to take that.
A Japanese show. Was it a Japanese show?
No, it wasn't Japanese. It was It wasn't. I'm thinking like what's that? Kuwait. It's next to Russia, but it's not Russia. It's right below it.
Kazakhstan. There's a lot of stands.
Yeah. I'll get it. I'll get it right.
It was one of the stands. It was one of the stands.
It was just great. I mean, they treated me good. I mean, everything was great. I mean, I was treated like I felt like royalty. Everything.
Wonderful.
They're just here. You want this? You want that? You want to do this? You want to do this? And I was like, no, we're good. We're good. We don't need to do all that.
Their hospitality is through the roof.
Yeah.
Eastern Europe, their hospitality is through the roof. I was doing a regular show in Bucharest, Romania, Eduard Iremia's show. And it was just like same thing, man. They pick you up in these like Mercedes-Benz SUVs. They're almost like limos. 2 or 3 people assigned to you. They're like assigned to you to make sure you get the right food and make sure you're having fun and make sure you're seeing the country. And it's just, you feel like royalty. It's,
yeah.
And now that triggers another question, Tony, for the young guys getting in, again, just to get people, if they're just tuning in now, we're here with Tony Kryptonite Lopez. He's been fighting since 2005. He's got over 100 professional fights. So he's been in the game forever. For the young kids getting in and they're hearing you talking about all these countries and, getting treated well. And what kind of advice would you give to a young Turk just getting in now?
You know what? What I tell them, if you don't have to stick to one coach, that's the biggest thing. Because no matter what, a coach is going to mold you the way he wants to mold you, the way he sees best, which is great, But sometimes when you stick with one coach, you get stuck in a rut. And then you're like, hey, you know what? For some reason, I don't feel like I can evolve anymore. And so, I mean, you got to, if you're training here, I mean, that's why I love cross training, because I go here, I go there. I know I get different inputs from everywhere. And that's what you want, because MMA is everything. And if you got there's certain places where they specialize more on the ground, other places specialize more in standing. And so you want to make sure you can get both, and then some that, where it's combined, all that kind of stuff. Because if you got the guy, you just do a perfect stand-up, and they just teach you all the defense to the takedown so you can just keep standing. What happens when you go on the ground? You get stuck. So just be versatile, and don't get stuck thinking like, oh, hey, this is the best coach here because he's got my best interest, all that stuff. But if he's only specializing one way, you got to make sure it's got to be every which way.
Interesting. Good advice. I'm sure you're giving that advice to your kids as well.
Well, to my kids, I tell them, ain't nobody going to teach you what I'm going to teach you. If you go somewhere else, you can go learn stuff. Then you come back and check with me so I can make sure it's right. And when they come back, it's always like, oh, my God, what are you doing? Okay, yeah, I told you to learn this stuff. I say live by that. So it's like, look, you learn that. And that's what I tell my kids, I tell them, look, you go anywhere you want, learn this stuff. Come back, and I'm going to tell you why you can use it, or when you can use it, or when you won't ever need that. So, because I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they teach you, and it's like, man, you won't never need, you'll never need that, or you'll never use that in a fight because it ain't gonna work. You know, that's just a drill to do this or that. You know, make you feel like, oh yeah, that's great. But so, I mean, I'm very picky. Like my daughter, she was in Hawaii for almost a year, and she started training over there. And I told her, look, do what you're doing, and learn whatever they tell you. Just don't forget what I've taught you. And then when she came back, you know, I said, okay, you know, I mean, we talk over the phone and that. But when she came back, I was like, hey, you know, throw a kick, throw a punch. And I was like, why are you moving like that? Well, that's what they told us to do. I'm like, that's great. You know, I told you to learn your stuff, but man, when you kick like that, I see it coming. I'm going to block it. You're not going to hit me. I'm going to get out of the way, this and that. You kick the way I kick, they're going to see something coming, but they're not going to go where it's from. So, I mean, it's just my kicks, it's funny. My kicks, I've been told, are the slowest kicks in the world, and senior citizens could see my kicks because they're so slow. My daughter, I'm at a fight, and I'm getting ready to finish this guy. I'm throwing a head kick, and my daughter's all excited, like, oh, here comes the kick. And she was my little 3-year-old, and she turns around, like, oh man, she calm down. You know, I'm gonna miss Dad's kick. She looks back and she's like, oh, I get to watch the ending. And she tells me, she had a full conversation with my kid about how she was going to miss the kick. He stopped talking and came back, and hey, the kick was still going. And she got to watch the end.
Oh, that's
she's like,
funny.
I don't know how it could have took so long and how it landed, but hey, I got to watch it from start to finish.
Oh, that is too funny. Here, hold my beer. I'm going to go have a conversation. Back, get your beer and watch the rest of the kick. Oh, that's really funny. Well, you know, maybe it's placement. You know, when I watch your fights, if the kicks are slow or the punches are slow, it's the placement. You're economical, and you got kind of that Diaz thing in a lot of ways where maybe you're punching at 80%, but you're doing damage and you're grinding the guy down, right? So you're placing, you know, is everything going to be a knockout punch? No, you're not even necessarily going for that. You're strategically fighting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. I mean, when I punch with my hands, it's always to set up my kicks. You know, and same thing, it's a distraction. Even my kicks sometimes too is like, well, let me let you get used to this kick here, and when I throw the kick I want, you know, I'm gonna get you. But yeah, it's always setting stuff up. You know, trying to soften them up and make them think this or that. So they open up.
This, Tony, you know, you're talking about the kids and setting them up and helping them with the fight game and giving them your wisdom for so many years of fighting. You know, you talk to a lot of fighters and they'll say, you know what? It's okay for me to be doing this, but I don't want my kids doing it because it's a hard road. It's a brutal road. I'd much rather have her be a lawyer. I'd much rather have her be a doctor, or I'd much rather have him be, you know, go into business, be an entrepreneur. Do you have those same feelings, or are you okay with the kids getting in?
You know what? Here's another thing that when you told me about what would I say to someone coming into the game, and you just reminded me right now because of what I tell my kids. You know, I tell my kids learning MMA or learning to fight general is like being a lawyer. You know, a lawyer don't go, you know, out of college or out of high school and then get into the courtroom and, hey, I'm a lawyer, you know, I studied and I know what I'm doing. No, they spend, you know, 7 years, you know, in learning their trade, go then understudy for, you know, so many years. And then finally, maybe after 20 years, hey, you're going to have to be a lawyer, you know, and you get out there and, hey, now, and they know all the rules, all the tricks, everything. What I tell my kids is, look, if you want to fight, I got to teach you everything, at least 2-3 years. You got to learn for 2-3 years, everything I can teach you. So that when you get in there, nothing surprises you. Even your first fight, when you go in there, people are going to think like, oh, no, this ain't her first fight. She's fought before, you know, because that's what they said to me. When I started out, you know, I was doing smokers back in the day when they didn't have anything. It was just smokers. I do smokers. And after two smokers I did, they said, hey, you know what? You can't come here anymore. I'm like, why not? So you're too good. I mean, these guys are just, you know, beginners and you're just way past them. And I was like, but I'm just starting. Oh, no, you're not. You know, we can see everything you do is way beyond them. And I was like, okay, cool. Pat on my back.
That's a compliment. That's a compliment.
And then what it was is that in my 20s, I spent all my 20s learning. every stand up, every kind of martial art there was, every kind of fighting style there was, and when I started at 32, like I said, I knew everything there was to do. And the first thing was get over my stage fright. But after I got rid of that stage fright, boom, that's when I went on my winning streak that I couldn't be touched. People would bang on me, oh, he's going to lose, he's getting whooped. But the whole time I was like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm not getting hit. It looks like I'm getting hit, but as they're hitting me, I'm going with a punch and stuff like that. And boom, first round, they get tired because they thought they had me. And then I come slowly but surely like the turtle, pam, pam, pegging away, and boom, you're done. So, but that's it. You gotta learn everything, and it ain't gonna happen in 6 months. You go training in 6 months, even if you're a natural athlete. In 6 months, your coach is like, hey, you ready for your first fight? I think you're ready. You got good skills. You're quick and snap, blah blah. If you never learned any martial arts or anything in 6 months, you don't know everything you need to know to go in there and just dominate. To me, I told my daughter too, like when you start, you don't need to start as amateur. You just put you right into a pro fight because that's where you're going to be. You're going to know everything you're going to know. When you go in there, pros ain't even going to, well, I mean, right now, when we go cross-train and I take her with me, pro fighters that are fighting right now, they're pro girls, they go up against her, and she starts whooping their ass. They start asking her, oh, who do you fight for? And then when she starts saying, I don't fight. So, oh, what organization do you fight for? I don't fight. Oh, how long have you been fighting? I don't fight. They keep asking her the same question, different ways to try and get her to say, oh, I've been fighting this long. And that's because the things I've taught her and she knows, it's like, puts the other pro fighters like, man, no, she's too good to be just a nobody. She hasn't been fighting to know the stuff she knows. And that's all it is. That's just teaching her, training her, letting her know, hey, look, when they do this, you do this. When they do this, they ain't going to expect this to happen, so you do this. And that's all it is, learn every little trick that there is, every little trait, and you're going to dominate. And, that makes her feel good, too, when she gets in there. She's like, hey, man, this girl kept bugging me, like where I fought, all this stuff. And blah, blah. I told her, I don't, I'm just learning. And they were like, no, like they tell her, you know too much not to be a fighter. Only fighters fight like you and stuff. So that makes me feel good because then I know, hey, I'm doing it right. So yeah.
We're here with Tony Kryptonite Lopez. Big fight tomorrow night. It's a kickboxing world title fight against Brian the Lion McVeigh. Rage in the Cage. I know you've got you're busy, and I really appreciate you doing the show for us. One final question before you go, and before everyone blows me up for saying Tony's got over 100 fights. He's got 97 MMA fights, and then when you add in all the other kinds of fights, Muay Thai, kickboxing, bare knuckle boxing, he's way over 100. Speaking of bare knuckle, I just watched your fight with Beltran, the bare knuckle show. 2 questions out of the gate. What's it like fighting bare knuckle? And how do you think it's going to do as a sport? Do you think it's going to grab market share from MMA?
Most definitely, because it's something new and it's totally different. MMA is great. For me, MMA is great. I hate when it goes to the ground because jiu-jitsu is boring. Just like, wrestling, not WWE, but college wrestling stuff is boring. Unless you know it, it's boring. When you know it, you know the techniques, the skills, all that it takes to do, but it's boring to watch. And bare knuckle, hey, you're standing. You ain't got no gloves on, so it's just these, and you're going at it. And one little hit can cut someone up quick. So blood starts coming out, and that's what people want to see. People want to see the blood, the gore, oh my God, it must hurt. It don't really hurt. It just, you get cut real easy. So it's fun, and I think it's going to pick up very quickly. It's already picking up quick. So I don't see it slowing down at all.
You and Beltran look like you were in a Quentin Tarantino movie by the end of that fight.
You know what? That was, to me, that was a great fight.
Did you guys bury the hatchet? What did you guys say to each other at the end of the fight? I know there was bad blood, but at the end of the fight, you hugged. What did you guys say to each other?
No, you know what? It's all good. I can't remember exactly what I said to him because I've fought him so many times. And
MMA
this is
too,
one of those
as well.
where like, hey, it's cool for now until the next time.
That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, so I mean,
It's like, I'll see you in a year, bro.
Yeah.
That's
But no,
funny.
it's great.
Hey man, if people want to watch this fight tomorrow night that you have with Brian McVeigh, Rage in the Cage, the kickboxing championship, are you familiar or do you have any knowledge on how people could watch that fight tomorrow?
Yeah, from what I've been told is you can go to Fit TV, and that's where you can watch it.
So FIT TV?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
is that a .com or is that a broadcast platform?
You know what? I'm not sure.
No worries.
It's a .t.
It's a dot. It's either going to be a .tv or a .com, it sounds like.
Yeah. .tv.
Very cool. And you have any predictions for the night, how it ends and when it ends?
Well, I don't have predictions. I never like to give predictions of when, how. I know two things are going to happen. One, he's going to get tired out, and two, he's going to let me knock him out because he's so tired. So that's my prediction right there.
And if people want to find out more about you, watch any of your fights or social media platforms, where would they go?
Well, I mean, to watch my fights, there's a lot of fights on YouTube, because everybody likes to put the fights there.
Fights.
And then also, I got my Facebook and Instagram. It's just Kryptonite, Tony Kryptonite Lopez, just the name. And I mean, you can follow me there. And on Facebook and Instagram, I try and keep it updated with what I'm doing, my fights, what's coming up, what I've done, and things that just going on in my life. So.
Yeah, and I will vouch for him. He has very exciting fights. His fighting style really lends itself to wars and dramatic finishes. And there are a ton of his fights on YouTube. So definitely check him out again. You're not going to want to miss it. Tony Kryptonite Lopez. Big fight tomorrow night, Rage in the Cage. Good luck, my brother.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Man, I appreciate you, Jay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tony.
For our full schedule of fights on the NBC Sports Network, CW and ABC affiliates, visit UnitedFightAlliance.com. United Fight Alliance. United, we fight.